Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 70 of the Whitey and Will Sports Show. Today is Saturday, March 11th, and the Teutopolis High School boys basketball team just finished up a third-place run at the Class 2A state basketball tournament. And so with that in mind, we are lucky enough to have the coach of that team, Chet Reeder, back on for the second time this season. We had Coach Reeder on at the beginning of the year to talk about his team, and now we are having him on to sum things up after a fantastic run through the season and the postseason. So Chet, thanks for taking time out of what has undoubtedly been a pretty hectic week to give us a little bit of your time.
Yeah, it's been very crazy, but especially for guys like you and you two and Greg Sapp and Steve Raymond and all of our local media. I'll carve out time anytime for you guys. You guys are top notch.
We appreciate that. Yeah, it's been fun. It's been a fun run through the postseason for the Shoes, and really, a challenging year just in terms of the teams you've had to play, and that can turn into kind of a grueling thing. And I imagine there's times throughout any season for any team, no matter how well they end up doing, where you wonder where it's all going to take you. But and maybe even times during the fourth quarter of a super sectional game, where a lead starts to slip away, you start to wonder, is this meant to be? But you guys got it done. You got to play up in Champaign, and ultimately got to end your season on a win, which I know it's kind of a cliche, but only two teams in each class get to end their season with a victory, and your boys were one of them.
Yeah, it was, when we knew this group was coming up, and the assistants and I talked, and we thought we could really challenge them throughout the year with our schedule, and kind of ramp it up, and which is kind of the good thing about us not being a conference is we can shift our schedule, every 2 or so years. So we really thought that we could challenge them, and really prepare them for what we thought that they could do. We hit that stretch in January, and we lost 5 of 7, and I was kind of thinking, what have I done? I felt like I may have kind of broke them a little bit, but to their credit, even in that stretch, practices were always great. Their energy in practices were always great. So it's like this team was on a mission, and they had tunnel vision to get to that mission, and they knew it wasn't always going to be perfect. But they knew where they wanted to go, and they knew that these challenging times would help them. They just kept believing in that. And even in times of adversity, in our postseason, we got down to Lawrenceville by 11, and their message never changed. They were upbeat at halftime, down 8. They were upbeat in the timeout, down 11. They kept believing. They never wavered in that fourth quarter against Pinckneyville. They were continuing to execute our stuff and get really good shots, but their message to each other was always just keep believing, expressing positivity into each other. It was really incredible. And then we did not perform well against a very good team Saturday morning. But they got a chance to, and I told them, there's not many teams that know when the end is, and we do. We got one game. There is no tomorrow when it comes to basketball. So just lay it all on the line. Do what you do, and just go play as hard as you can and execute the best that you can, and go do you. And you saw that. You saw that in that third place game. We sped them up. We were diving on the floor. We were taking charges. They really got to show the state what they were really all about all year.
Yeah, that was my impression. I went up there, watched the semifinal game in person, then came home because I'm getting kind of old. That's a late night for me. Oh. But I watched it on TV, and that was my big thing, was that your boys looked like they were playing. They just looked like they were playing basketball in the third place game. In the first game of the day, little tight. Other team has a lot to do with that. Obviously, a physically talented team and pretty good. Once they got rolling in the second half, just a pretty good basketball team. But yeah, your guys just looked like they were comfortable out there in that second game and loose, and maybe not having a couple of days to think about that next game can be a blessing in disguise when you're playing for third place.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good for kind of good for everybody. The coaching staff didn't have to stay up till 1 a.m. for 3 nights in a row scouting and watching film. It was it. And Jess told me after that first game, my wife, she said, this one's over. You can't dwell on it. You got another game to play. So she get your act together, tell your boys to get their mind right and play the best you can and coach the best you can in that third place game.
Yeah. I'm guessing she didn't use that nice of language, my guess. I don't know. Now, Chet, I watched 2.5 of the Paul Preps games on tape on NFHS.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like, the way they were playing their defense, really almost a matchup zone, just switch. But they surprised me so much from tape to in person. I mean, they shouldn't have been in that game. They were given the super section, literally. I mean, they're down 8 with inside of 2:30, and then the old Chris Webber deal, a timeout was called with no timeouts, and the tie game was 16 seconds. They were gifted that. But holy cow, the way everything you guys tried to do, they doubled, but they recovered so quick. You guys would try, okay, we'll kick it out and get an open look. Their recovery was so quick. I think their quickness is what caught me off guard from what I was seeing on tape, really. And, I listened to a guy over Friday, and he talked about them, the two bigs both are getting noticeable D1 offers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I think, I don't think they're given the credit as the quality of team they were coming into the tournament. When I'm looking at their scores in like Bennett Academy, only beat them 4. And I'm not sure they had a full roster when they played Bennett Academy. So you were seeing scores where they played people tough, and then you're like, it wasn't jiving. But I think you saw the team that played Bennett Thursday morning.
Yeah. Well, and they beat St. Ignatius.
Yeah.
They only lost to, I think, New Trier. They lost by like 14, but it was like a 4 or 5 point ball game the whole game.
Yeah.
That's 3 teams that are playing.
Yeah.
They're playing up there too. They like you said, Mike, their recovery was incredible. And I think that's what kind of overwhelmed our guys is usually on, Caleb gets doubled, he kicks it out, we get a wide open 3.
Sure.
They were contesting shots from the paint, to the 3-point line. And
right.
They were much better in person than what they looked on film.
Right.
Much better. And they were on a mission. I talked to their staff after our game, and they were nothing but complimentary of our guys. And they said our guys are just, they were very upset that they did not play their best against Nashville last year in the semis, and they were on a mission this year, and you could tell that.
Well, and watching the game, I think there was a turning point, and I'm not meaning this in a negative way towards Brendan Eberge, okay? But when it was 12-8 and he's going to the line to shoot free throws, hits one, which is uncharacteristic of Brendan, and I know that shooting background, there's, a lot of factors, but then 8 seconds, they bust it down and bury a 3, and it's 15-9 instead of 12-11. And I just think at that point, and there was a possession maybe a minute or 2 later, you guys knocked the pass away, had a steal. I mean, everyone is hauling ass the other end, and you just couldn't get a clean handle on it. They dumped it into the big kid, and he got a dunk. And I just felt like those 2 times, it deflated your kids a little bit. You're like, God, they knew their margin of error was tight.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, it didn't stop your fight, but I just think at that point, it was like, oh, this is not, it's just not going the way you need it to go.
Yeah.
Those were things you could still kind of control. And, and it was just like, oh man.
Yeah, you're right. I really did think that our trapping could bother them a little bit. And I think it did. But
I agree.
We had there was two plays. There was a loose ball and it got knocked around and it ended up in their hands and they got a dunk. And then I think I got a 3 in another one. And
right.
You're exactly right. It's like, we need those things to go our way.
Right. And I agree. I think your trapping was creating opportunities. You just weren't getting the bounces out of the deflected passes or some things, because I really think them being sped up was a detriment to them.
Yeah.
And you guys were doing a good job of it. It just, oh my God, pinball. Okay, here's a dunk, and your kids were gone. 5 kids were headed the other end of the floor, man. We got to steal. We're going down to score. And then, it gets knocked around and ends up with that kid. And it was just, it was painful to see that effort not getting rewarded.
Yeah. Yeah. And and then you got a kid in the McElroy kid that they got who's 6'6", 6'7". He can switch out on your point guard and
I know.
And guard him.
The two bigs did not mind switching on guards because they sat down and guarded. And I think that's the thing that I didn't see in the tapes I was watching was that ability.
No, you didn't see that. No.
But you get to that point and obviously you're going to run into good and great teams. And I just think the bounce back was nice. You talked about your kids and the attitude they have and the attitude they kept even in some challenging moments down the stretch of the season. And that's all you can say. That's going to be the lasting impression, I think, is that they did come back and play so well that night. And I'm sure they were tired and disappointed to be playing in that game to a certain degree, but and also it looked like a pretty good crowd hung around Champaign to cheer you on that night too, which, that game would tip off about 9:00, right? So it was, certainly excusable for the energy level to be down, but it was not.
Yeah. And I want to say something like our fans were just incredible, to have that many people still there for that 9:00 game. Just shows how much this community, how special this community is and how much they love these kids. And it was so cool to see just basically the whole State Farm Center. It was just us.
Mm-hmm.
Rockridge had some people there, but we had an overwhelmingly crowd advantage really in both games. But for them to stick around for that 9:00 games really says a lot about those people.
Well, and that's the thing about, taking a coaching job at T-Town. Listen, the expectations are high, right? Like you come in there and you understand that you're going to be under a little bit more pressure to get to that stage than maybe the average coach at the average high school is. But also you know that that's the kind of backing that you're going to get. Like the people, as many deep runs as T-Town boys and girls basketball have made over the years, they don't take it for granted. They show out, they make the trip, and that's a very rewarding part of it. It has to be.
Oh, absolutely. Our following, we get compliments all the time from other coaches that, they'll say, man, I knew you guys would have a lot of people, but this is crazy. This is crazy how many people are here to watch you play. And I try to express to our guys every game, don't take this for granted. Don't think that this is normal. I encourage them to look around and soak it in every game. It's even a road, like a Tuesday regular season game on the road. We've got more people than that home team. it truly is special, special for these kids and a special community to come out and support us and be with us every step of the way.
Chad, I listened to Greg and Matt do the third place game because I was trying to do NFHS, but they were ahead, 10 seconds at least. So I just turned the internet off and listened to them. And, you could just tell by the pace of the game, your kids were like, okay, this is just a normal game. And then you start hitting some shots. I think Gaddis hit back-to-back threes for you maybe at one point.
Yeah.
And, you just kind of, the resiliency of your kids going back playing a normal game and doing what they do. Now, I got a question. I hadn't been to the hall. I mean, well, obviously, with the state tournament not being there, I'm hearkening back to the 80s and 90s, and it was disappointing because I remember, across from the benches, that lower level packed full of coaches and officials. And a friend of mine had tickets. I sat with him, and it was maybe 60% full. And then the upper deck, obviously, your sections go up in a wedge, because I'm glad to see they have the students in the Orange Crush section. That's awesome. And then your tickets kind of go up in a wedge, and you guys were packed full. And granted, there was T-Town people all over the building, not just in that section. But the rest of that upper bowl back in the day was full of everybody and their brother took their teams. And it wasn't, the atmosphere wasn't what it was. And now I'm hoping today's is better, but that just seemed, I don't know, that was the only deflating point of the whole trip, was seeing that. And the IHSA's got to get a handle on letting people in for that 2:30 game. Because we walked in and went straight to our seats, and you're warming up with 9 minutes to go before the tip. Now, we weren't the first of line. However, they've got to fix that.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know. Less and less people are coming to the state tournament anyway. That was happening even in Peoria. But
right.
I really think State Farm missed an opportunity. I love where they have the students.
Yeah.
But I think the two teams playing, I think they should be sitting across from the benches, where all those coaches and officials are, and then put them like up above the student section, because that's still a great seat.
Right.
But those people across from our benches, they're not going to bring an atmosphere to the games. The team's fans are going to, and that gets them a little closer to the floor. But they've got some definite tweaks that they need to do.
Right.
To get it more of a fan friendly atmosphere. My brother was sitting up top, and all he wanted to do was come down and wish me luck, and the usher wouldn't let him do it. Wouldn't let him come down and just say good luck to.
Had I not run into Sam Knox because we were in that lower bowl, I couldn't have stepped down onto the floor and said hi to Greg and Matt. But Sam Knox was walking by, and he's head of the IHSA kind of. No, he's not, but I was able then to just walk down there. But you're right.
Yeah, and I had to do a little work to say hello to you in the section below.
I know, and you started whining.
Of course, the guy was really doing me a favor, honestly, because I had to keep it short, right? Like I could only go down and shake your hand.
He kept eagle eyes on you the whole time you were talking to.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know the logistics of it, and I don't want to turn this into. No.
It was just the atmosphere,
but
it's just different than
I do
back
know.
In the day.
Being at the girls' tournament last year, I know that somehow they made it so that all the fans of a team were all sitting in the same place, concentrated, and feeding off of each other's excitement. And there were a lot of T-Town fans there, but you're right, they were all over the gym, like spread out. So
huge wedge.
That's something you can get. Hopefully they'll get figured out. But I think it is, listen, I listened to Chet being interviewed on the radio after they won the super sectional, and he mentioned, watching Kenny Battle play in that building and guys like that. And and that is the thing, like kids that grow up in this state, I know not all of them are Illinois fans, but a lot of them are, and they watch those games on TV. They see their heroes play there, and
Yeah, but now kids talk about seeing John Gross coach, and see, it's just not the same.
I have. You don't want to get me off on that tangent, okay? But that I mean, that's a big deal, and not that Peoria did a bad job of hosting the thing, but not as many kids in the state have those seminal memories of watching the great Bradley teams of the years play like they do University of Illinois. So it's nice that it's there, and it means something to a lot of the kids and coaches.
Yeah, I love that it's there. Absolutely love that's there. It was a dream come true to step out on that floor. Just to share that same experience that some of my heroes growing up, shared. And I don't want it to be anywhere else. It was incredible. And they allowed us to use all of their facilities too. Like we were in the women's, the official women's locker room, the first game, and then we were in the coaches' locker room the second game. So they got to experience actual locker rooms and what it's like to maybe be in the shoes of a Division I player for at least a moment.
Yeah.
And that's awesome, man. I agree with you. It should be there. I still remember my first year coaching with Dave Bartlett in '86 at St. Anthony, driving up, and it was like, who's going to be the first to see the arch? Who's going to be the first to see the assembly hall?
Yeah.
Carbondale, two things when you guys are down there for the Super, okay? When you guys walk into the building, go to the locker room, you get that little pit in your stomach, like, shit, here it is. I know I did. I even did when I came to watch you guys Monday night, Chet. I walked in and go, this place, I just don't like it.
There was
just a brief moment.
So the previous two times that I've been there, we've been in the same locker room.
Mm-hmm.
We've been on the same bench, and we've worn Navy. It kind of, yes, you get that pit, but it kept going away because when we were handing out tickets on Sunday or Saturday, Lori tells me you're going to be on the same bench, and I thought, oh God. And she goes, but you're the home team, so you're going to be wearing white. So
I sat on both benches. It didn't matter. So
yeah,
I was on both ends of the floor.
But then
now here's the other thing. Here's the other thing that you guys are done in the locker room pregame. Your kids are out. You're standing by the bleachers. It's 15 minutes before you get a chance to get on the floor.
Mm.
They almost need to have one of those 18 people running around doing nothing. Hey, we'll come get you when you got about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Because you and Pinckneyville are both just standing there, and it's like, let them stay in the locker room. Maybe you don't go get dressed until 2 minutes to go in the ball game, to be honest. And I just felt like your kids were, hey, ring the bell, we're ready to go.
Yeah.
But now they're just standing.
Yeah, they were like lions in a cage.
Exactly.
They could not wait to get out on. I got such a sense of calming because of our guys. They had a different look about them.
Very much so. Very much so.
They expected to play very well down there, and that's the way they acted. I never thought that they had any doubt in their mind that they were going to play well.
Now, after your first 4 possessions, that little devil got back on my shoulder and started whispering in my ear again, and I shook him off. But once you got flow of play and I actually texted Ronnie about this after the game. I felt like both ends of the floor, that was the most complete game I've seen Brendan play. Both ends of the floor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because there's been days he's really been good offensively. Defensively, he shined, I felt like, probably as well as he's played. And he shot it. There were some people behind me that I questioned their basketball knowledge, but they were, oh my God, he's shooting NBA 3-pointers. Well, he's out there and he probably is behind the line. However, they were like, oh my God. I go, well, no, he can shoot it. Trust me. But it was just like a complete game. I was very impressed with the way he handled himself.
Yeah, in the fourth quarter, he was taking the shots exactly what we wanted him to, and they were rattling in and out. I thought everything he put up Monday night was going in. I really did.
Well, he made a great move there on that one, kind of down the left side of the lane. He just lost the handle of the ball.
Yeah. And
that fourth quarter, you got great looks, and it was like, the old days at St. Anthony, Father Golf's just knocking them off the rim, and I thought, oh my God. And then, of course, Pinckneyville, they'd go score, and then you'd get another great look, and it'd roll around and come off. Did you think your guys got at about the 3-minute mark started just saying, hey, can we just make this clock go fast?
Yeah, that the clock was not moving fast enough for sure, especially when you start missing shots, and and then we couldn't get a rebound either.
I know. That one possession, I mean, I was like, oh my gosh. And then again, you could just sense the whole building was starting to go, come on now. Nah, let's pull this out of the fire. And then I felt in the overtime you really played well.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, they got back to playing just off instincts.
Yes.
We were down 1, and I think it turned it over maybe or missed a shot, and Pinckneyville was going to start stalling.
Oh yeah.
And Jimmer, what Jimmer did was just instincts. He went and trapped, got a steal, and then it was kind of just they went back to just playing basketball and playing off their instincts at that point.
Was it overtime where Seamer did the little come by for the handoff, and I'm going to stick my ass out and catch your man, Brendan, and you get the layup? Was that overtime or fourth quarter?
That was our only bucket of the fourth quarter.
That was the only bucket in the fourth quarter. Okay.
Put us up with
needed it.
Minute and a half. That's the bucket we needed.
Huge.
Yeah. I mean, but again, as rough as that fourth quarter was, you had that lead because of how well you played in the third quarter, particularly Brendan. I mean, he hit some huge shots in it. I really thought you were just going to pull away at that point, but that's the resilience, right? Like, you get to the last 8 teams left in the state, like no one's going to make it easy for you, and it's all about survival. And then Caleb Seamer, you talked about him with that play there. He closed out his season with a flourish too. I mean, a big game Thursday night. That's what you like to see. You like to see him to go out that way, put another 20 spot on the board one last time.
Yeah, I told Coach Smith, who does our book, I told him before that third place game, I said, win or lose, obviously I want to win. He said, win or lose, I just want our guys to play well. I want them to show the state who they really are. Right. And really our seniors, I wanted them to go out with a great game. And Caleb was tremendous. He was making assertive moves. He was, he had a little baseline right hand jump hook that was just probably maybe one of his better moves all year.
Yeah.
The Rockridge kids really didn't know what hit them, and all 5 of them, all 5 seniors scored, but Caleb really showed why he was AP second team and sometimes second team. And, he got IBCA second team yesterday, and I think he was 1 vote away from being first team for IBCA.
The TV guy, the NFHS analyst, he was throwing out Olajuwon comparisons, which that's, I'm a pretty big Akeem Olajuwon guy, so I'm not sure I'm ready to quite go there with Caleb yet, but that's how he was. Somebody probably seeing him for the first time was very impressed, and that's all you could do, right? I mean, somebody out there is always seeing you play for the first time, and that's the impression you leave them with, and that's the impression that Caleb Seamer left the entire state with. Just thinking, man, this is a big kid who's got a little finesse, and he certainly showed it in that game.
Yeah, and like you said, it's if you've never seen him play, when he walks out, you would think, oh, this guy's just going to be a big bruiser and can't really move. But I mean, you saw him sprinting the floor. You saw him, you saw his great footwork. You saw his great passing. I think he ended with 21 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 assists. You saw him make a three. So you saw.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He's a good 3-point shooter from the top of the key, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we knew we were going to this Princeton offense, and you really need your big to be able to hit that top of the key three. And so this summer I told Caleb, I said, you've got to make 2,000-3,000 threes from the top of the key, and then keep working on your post moves. And he did. He made 5,000 shots this summer. And a lot of them were top of the key threes.
Well, and coach friend of mine who watched the super sectional, watched both games on Thursday, pointed out to me that felt like there was a renewed effort on Thursday to be posting up hard, right? Like even in the semifinal game that didn't go your way, he was working really hard down there, trying to find the space against, some pretty physically talented kids, but it just seemed like he really redoubled his efforts to make himself as available as he could down there.
Yeah, he was working his tail off against DePaul, and that shows you how good Caleb is a team like DePaul Prep, who plays nothing but 3A, 4A teams. They were still double teaming Caleb.
Oh yeah, every touch.
They were doubling sometimes before he even got the ball. So that shows you how good Caleb is, because a team like that respects him enough to still send guys at him. He was working his tail off. It was just difficult.
So, a little bit of big picture stuff here. We've had you on for a half hour, and we promised you we wouldn't keep you for too long. But going back to the super sectional last year, which was, not a fun experience, but knowing that you had this core group back and that you had another chance to make a run, but also knowing that, T-Town's had kind of this monkey on its back for the last 12 years to get to the super sectional. A number of times, which most programs would be perfectly satisfied to do. But these folks want to get back to state, to know that to be able to get back on that stage, to bounce back from a rough super sectional last year. Just this last year, it's got to be so satisfying for you as a coach to watch your boys, take on that challenge and really answer the bell.
Yeah, and they worked for it, which was so satisfying. That's why there was so much joy and celebration amongst our guys on Monday, because they have worked hard. They've spent a lot of time in the gym on their own, because they knew where they wanted to go. But they also didn't just expect it to happen. This group, especially the senior group, they've been touted as the next class, since they were, I don't know, 5th, 6th grade. But
they shut a team out in 3rd grade, 50-0.
Yeah. So but they haven't just sat back and said, well, we won state in 8th grade, so it's just going to happen. They have put in time and effort and blood and sweat and tears, all the coaching talk and the cliches you want to say, but they really have. They've done it. They have, and they've been great teammates to these juniors and these sophomores. They understood that they needed help. They needed help from these guys to get them to where they wanted to go. And there was just it was so I'm so proud of them. I'm so impressed by them. That's why there was so many emotions, this week, because, not only did we get the monkey off our back, and it was emotional, for a lot of teams in the past 16 years. There was a lot of grown men crying. There was a lot of hugs. There was a lot of, laughing, and it was just an incredible experience, an incredible week. But more than anything, I'm impressed. I'm impressed by our guys, that they had a goal and they put in the time and effort to reach that goal.
Well, and Chet, if I could editorialize for just a second. That's one of the things I really appreciate about you as a coach is that I can tell that, like you talk about emotion, after some of those big games, like you're not shy about how much it means to you and how much of a relief it is to get those wins, or sometimes, how painful it is to take those losses. But it's always the questions about your kids that really, get that lump in your throat. And that just, to me, it just lets me know, you're who you're in it for. And can't say enough about how much I appreciate that just as a fan of basketball in the area.
Well, I get that from both sides. My mom and dad are both very emotional. But growing up, just seeing your dad cry, and I had coaches who loved me and I knew that they loved me, but seeing your dad cry, it showed you that's okay to show emotion. It's okay for people to know that you care. And I hate it about myself sometimes because I feel because I feel like the message doesn't always get across the way I want it to, but you're going to get what you get from me. You're going to know that, I wear my heart on my sleeve, and when these guys, I work them so hard. I have so many expectations for them. And when they come through, it just means that much more to me that they trust me and believe in the stuff that we're doing. And that's why it gets me whenever you talk about them, because I really do. I love them. I care about them, and I'm happy for their success.
And, and the good thing, we talked about some of the good things about a program like T-Town. I was there for the St. Anthony game when you paraded all the junior high kids out there and listen, I understand. I'll bet that timing is probably intentional, but the cupboard's never bare. There's just such an interest in so many athletes, ready to step in, and you never know what's going to happen with them, but there's always going to be a good crop to pick from the next year. And it's just a matter of, what they do with their 4 years.
Well, not only good crop, but great leaders leading them, and Doug Smith and Kent Nieberge, they are ready when they are freshmen. There's no reteaching things to these guys as far as fundamentals. Yes. We just put our own little stamp on them because Kent and Doug have them ready to go, and they're Hall of Famers for a reason.
Yeah,
when you have freshmen come in and they understand the concept of help the helper as freshmen, it don't happen very many places.
No,
because really, a junior high job at a lot of schools is either somebody's doing it because they had to do it to get a teaching job, or because it's a stepping stone and they're looking to move up to something else. But yeah, it's a program there. It's a luxury that not many high school coaches get to enjoy. I'm glad that you appreciate it, because like those kids, they understand what it means to be a part of that program, probably even before they get in junior high, but certainly by the time they get out of 8th grade. I know, like from 8th grade to freshman year practices, like I had no idea what basketball even was. And that's no knock on the coaches I had before. It's just that, so much turnover, it's hard to keep that messaging consistent, and T-Town doesn't have that issue.
No, like you said, it's consistent. It's longevity. Kent and Doug have been there forever, and so it's not this massive turnover. You get dad in there for 3 years, and then his son goes on to high school and he quits. They have been there forever. And then you have guys like Rich Prupps, who does 6th grade, who he's been on high school staffs. You got Lee Hardick and Evan Warmer coaching the 5th graders, who are former players. You got I think Mike Horn coaching 4th grade, maybe. But it's with continuous guys coming back that have been through this program. They understand what it takes. But they're also not just about winning. They teach these kids how to play the right way.
Mike, you got anything else? We've we don't want to keep Chet too much longer, but
No, we're going to try to get your captains on. I don't know. They quit replying to my text, so they're probably big timing us or
who can
waiting
blame
to
them?
have their agent contact us. I don't know.
Yeah.
And tell Mitch Custer that the real Mitch Custer told me he did not miss free throws late. So Mitch is going to have to work on. He said he's going to either have to work on that or change his name.
Yeah,
I don't know whether.
My brother was talking to Carterville's coach Shane Hawkins during that game, and Stote said, "Man, I'd be a lot more comfortable if the 40-year-old Mitch Custer was down there shooting free throws."
Well, not as a 40-year-old, trust me, because I beat him in a contest at the Christmas tournament 2 years ago.
Oh my!
But in his heyday, not too shabby.
Yeah, our Mitch Custer he'll be back and better at the free throw line. I know he will.
Let him know I said that because he'll just laugh because he knows he knows when it's coming from me. He has to take it with a grain of salt, but it is what it is. Well, Chet, again, great run. Tough season as far as schedule wise, never a day off, but it's been that way. It's been that way, but that's again how you are prepared for your next game. There's not many things you see that you haven't already seen. You just and that's great with the program. I can remember Brendan Nieberge when he was kind of my neighbor as a little kid, making dad shovel snow so he could go out and shoot and dribble. And you knew he's going to be a player because he's not just out there throwing 3-pointers from the hip at age 5. He's working on stuff. And, and again, I've known him and Jim are both a long time. So great for them. Great group of kids. So glad you got to do what you did.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate you guys and Mike. I appreciate the talks, the support, the help. It's always good to hear from a different voice every once in a while. So I appreciate everything you guys have done.
Even though sometimes people think that voice is the crazy uncle in a box in the corner of the room, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, have fun. Have fun with I assume you're having some sort of a welcome home thing at the school tomorrow. That's the tradition. T-Town, they know how to put those on. It's been done a few times, but
and they last a lot longer than people think.
Hope you got a good speech planned, and I wish you luck with that. This here is a piece of cake compared to that, I would have to imagine.
Yeah. It's 2:00 on Sunday, so I gotta get my speech ready.
All right. Well, we'll let you get to it, Coach. Congratulations again. Thanks for taking the time, and be looking forward to watching where you guys go. Going forward. There's always good players, and I'm sure there's plenty more deep runs left where this one is. So, congratulations and thanks for your time today.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
We'll
let Coach Reeder bail out on this call. Mike, you and I have a little bit left to talk about. I don't know how much more, we got into all the games this week. And
just when I mentioned the thing at Carbondale, I mean, just logistically, I don't know that I want my team standing for 15 minutes waiting to take the floor. And it's not, I'm sure Chet, okay, you can come out now. All right. And then, now you're setting. But again, that comes with being there and maybe logistically. I don't remember it being that way in the past for that long. But yeah, just, them getting that win, you could just see people's eyes when I was leaving the arena, and when I was there helping coach, we went through those, seeing them at the game, seeing their reaction. It was just, it was special. And they've done, they had to work to get there. I mean, every step of the way was work.
Yeah.
And really, once they got out of the regional, it was pack a lunch.
And I'll tell you, people around the area, they look at a program like Teutopolis, boys and girls, just Teutopolis basketball in general, and I think that they some of them might resent the success a little bit, but what I always say to that is that, like, none of these people ever take it for granted, right? Like it means an
No,
awful lot to them, and they don't go into it expecting, like, I mean, they do expect success, but they don't take it for granted. I don't know if that keeps coming out. I wish I could come up with more interesting ways to say
well,
it.
here's an analogy. I remember, when the Atlanta Braves kept winning division title, and then they were having trouble selling out playoff games.
Yeah,
People got a little complacent. Oh, we're here again. You don't see the complacency with T-Town fans. They had a monster crowd at that. Those poor old Marquette kids, that first game of sectional, didn't know whether to shit or whine or watch. That place was noisy. And then
yeah.
what, but they don't not follow. They're there. You see grandparents, it's just such a great buy-in, ownership. And
Yeah.
again, complacency is the good word. They don't get complacent. Oh, we've been here before.
Yeah, and you talk about, I mean, people who don't have any direct connection necessarily, and T-Town's a pretty tight knit community. Lots of relations there, as far as like everybody's somebody's cousin and stuff like that. But still, there's people who don't have any like direct, grandkid plan, but it still means a lot to them to see that team succeed, and they show up and support it. And not every program has that. I mean, there's some very, very good basketball teams in this area this year that, despite that success and despite the fact that they're kind of in their window to be contenders and make deep runs, people just, for whatever reason, just didn't buy in and show up very much. And you don't have that problem at T-Town.
Right. And again, it's not just parents and grandparents. It's, everybody's showing up. And that's the thing. I mean, they get behind it. And then you've got a huge contingent sitting at the KC Hall watching the NFHS being streamed online.
Yeah.
I mean,
you bring that up, and that hits on something. You talk about the crowds at state tournaments not being what they used to be. I think it's a very nice thing that those games are streamed, and quite honestly, I don't see that third place game on Thursday without it being streamed. But I do think that that's a catch-22, because it does give people that out to say, well, I'm
but back in the day, it was on TV where you could find it. Everybody had it. You know what I mean? Everybody had Channel 3 and was watching the games. Whereas now, my Hulu doesn't offer. It's not in the offering package, so I couldn't watch it if I wanted to. So
that's been the state of affairs for a while now, though, because I remember following the T-Town boys to the state tournament in 07 at Carver Arena. It wasn't.
You have to keep bringing that year up.
It's a frame of reference here. Even then, I remember people saying, "Boy, this just isn't the same atmosphere that it used to be." And I think it's just a cultural shift. I just don't know if you're ever getting that back, unfortunately.
Speaking of 07, I walk into the assembly hall with Rich Morris, Craig Westendorf, and Andy Tipton. And of course they're going, hey, good,
Well, but that's cool. That's cool, because those guys were there and it meant something to them to be there. They're not old enough to have kids. Well, I mean, theoretically, maybe they are
old kids, but not old enough to play.
Not old enough to play, but still.
I think they all have girls, which is good.
Well, I know that Lori Thompson's probably glad to hear that, depending on how long she intends to keep heading up the girls program. But
that's. And then I saw Wade Custer at Carbondale, so that's, and I see Rundy all the time. So those guys are nightmares. They live in my brain.
Yeah, I saw Jason Rundy in line. I was kind of, when we were standing outside our State Farm Center, I guess, Assembly Hall in my head, and always forever.
Assembly Hall 2.
Waiting to get in. And by the way, if you're going to these games, I don't advise having a 10-year-old girl who has to go to the bathroom really bad waiting with you.
There's bushes.
Her world was coming to an end as we waited to get in there, and I don't know what goes into clearing out a gym, but good Lord, they waited a very long time to let people in. It felt excessive, but again, I don't know anything about putting this on, so I'm not going to be completely beside myself. It was just,
but here's the thing, Whitey, it's not a full house. It can't take that long to get people out of there and clean it up.
Well, and that's the thing about ushers keeping you out of the sections. Like, I mean, and that's kind of, I made that comment to the gentleman who didn't want to let me come down and say hello to you. Like, look around you. It's not like these seats are necessarily like, I don't know, like it's not a packed house. I'm not trying to get somebody
people down by the floor, create an atmosphere.
Yeah, they should want people to move down. It should be less formal.
Because you know what? If you're in my seat, you're going to get up and leave, or I have an usher. It's no big deal.
I just kind of almost wish that it was just like you pay to get in, and it's like a high school gym. It's general admission, and aside from maybe keeping the students in the Orange Crush section, which I'm fine with, that's good. You want them.
I understand the coaches and the officials having a section where they can set.
Yeah, but I think
I have no problem with that whatsoever.
Other than that, I don't really have a problem with first come, first served, not being so formal about this is your seat, this is where you sit. But I do. I mean, it's a moneymaker too, right? Like I guess
they charge extra $2 like Carbondale did. If Carbondale's going to charge $2, they need to get some Wi-Fi that's accessible, like free Wi-Fi you can use in the building.
Yeah,
come on. Yeah. You got a lot of people there, and you charge $2 each. Maybe you buy a couple routers and you put in that building.
It's there's just always fine tuning that can and should happen.
It's not their first rodeo, my gosh.
No, but
move the Super back to Eastern. Then you can get home before.
Well, midnight. I don't think that was IHSA's decision. Eastern.
I know. However,
the thing that's always funny
Michael, I'm trying to get it back.
The thing that's always funny to me about Eastern saying it couldn't do that Super anymore is because the whole idea was that it was to facilitate the potential
OVC games
of playing an OVC opening round game, and I don't know that they've qualified for the Ohio Valley Conference tournament one time since that decision was made, because it's been a long fallow period for Eastern men's basketball. So that's the thing that always kind of.
Hey, folks from Pinckneyville, if they don't get home till midnight, hey, live in our world.
That was kind of funny. The kids that were broadcasting the game on
they thought T-Town was closer than Pinckneyville.
That was funny. It took them a second. Somebody either got in their ear or somebody whipped out his phone and said, "Oh, actually, Pinckneyville's way closer than T-Town is." But
I wouldn't have said T-Town had a bigger crowd. I guess it depends on where they were setting. Obviously we're on the T-Town side, and you just see all the Pinckneyville people. Now, Pinckneyville student section was bigger because they got more kids.
Yeah.
Somebody told me that DePaul Prep is up to 1,000 kids, and there was that no changing of classes with post-COVID. I don't know. They seem to have an awful lot of student section there.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a program that made it last year. Obviously, they it seemed to me that some kids graduated off that team, but they had a lot back.
They had 6'10" kid.
Yeah, I guess there's a message I would want to get across. If people just look at that final score, they say, "Oh." In fact, there were some guys sitting behind me at the game on Thursday. Well, 17 points. How did this team get? And it's like, I mean, you got to understand how good the team the other team is, right? Like, and I've seen what T-Town's gone up against. I'm not going to say that was the best team they've played this year, because I watched them play. I watched them play in the championship game of your tournament. But
you know what DePaul Prep's multiplied enrollment is?
What is it?
854.
So they won't be 2A next year, is what you're telling me. Yeah.
Oh. That statement about are these guys? And I go back to 1980, the first half of the Effingham Chicago De La Salle game. Mitch Arnold can't hit his ass with both hands. goes to the line late to shoot 2 free throws, misses them both, gets a lane violation, misses the third one, 90% free throw shooter. At halftime, going in the bathroom and hearing 2 older gentlemen, a couple of urinals down, loudly saying, boy, Illinois screwed up on bringing this kid in. He can't even score. And then watching Mitch score like 28 in the second half without the 3-point circle.
Yeah,
so that's there's some of that goes, oh my God, T-Town, what was the score at half? Were they down 8?
Yeah, they were down 8. They'd only scored 11.
Down 8 and had the ball, and I figure, they're going to come out and run their best play. DePaul gets the steal because I was talking to a guy and I said, hey, stop score. It's a 4-point game. And DePaul steals the first pass, or when they're trying to enter their offense, kid overplays it, steals it, goes down, scores. And it was like, not the start you want.
The thing that all people need to keep in mind when they watch these games is that, and I've seen plenty of state tournament and super sectional games in my life by now, and you've seen more than I have. All bets are off in these games because the pressure is, kids play their whole lives to get to this point, and you just never know how they're going to react to it. And that's part of it, of course. Part of being a champion is how you react to the biggest stage, but also it's impossible for coaches or even the kids themselves to predict how they're going to feel in that moment. And it doesn't mean that the kid is a mistake to be recruited by whatever college is recruiting them, or that they shouldn't be a starter for that team or anything like that. It means that for a few minutes on that day, they weren't the best player that they could be for a number of reasons. And that's all it is. It's high school athletics. And if you're making any sweeping judgments about somebody based on watching 1 quarter or 2 quarters of their game, then you need to have a better understanding of what you're seeing, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. So yeah, it was just a thing where I think you saw the real T-Town that second game.
Sure. Yeah. Well, because there's no pressure in a third place game. There really isn't, right? There's a little,
right,
but you've been on the floor once, you've played a game on that floor once. And yeah. It's just a deal where they can relax and play their game. So yeah, I'm going to pause this for a minute. I want to get a couple of things together, and then we can talk about all state stuff real quick, and then put a bow on it for this week.
Sounds good.
I'm going to pause this. All right, we are back. A few more things to talk about. Mostly boys basketball all-state teams came out, IBCA and Associated Press, and then I think Mike's got one other thing he wants to touch on, but
also Sun-Times first and second team came out. Okay. Caleb Seamer made second team 2A.
Caleb Seamer second team there in 2A. Second team in the Associated Press 2A team, and just kind of put the bow on it for Caleb in 2A on the IBCA team. He was
second team there as well.
He was a second teamer there, yes. So
just missed. Was it IBCA? He just missed first team.
That's what Coach Reeder was telling us. Yeah, that he was right there, but did not quite get the votes to get on the first team. But listen, still very, very good job.
Great accomplishment.
Yep. As far as 1A in the AP, we had some honorable mentions, quite a few actually from the area. Logan Fleener at North Clay, Aiden Dodson at South Central, Mason Robinson from Altamont, Avery Yarhouse from Altamont, and Austin Wittenberg from Windsor Stew Straws. They were all honorable mention on the 1A all-state AP all-state team. So those listen, National Trail Conference, man, lots of
well represented,
lots of good players there. I'm looking at the first and second teams from 1A. not seeing anyone. The closest that I see to our area on the second team, the Quinn kid from Tuscola got on there. He's only a sophomore, so we'll be hearing plenty more about him. As far as IBCA goes, on the 1A first team, we got Mason Robinson and Logan Fleener on there. That's
Good for them.
10-person first team, and they both get on there. I think that's very well deserved. Second team, Avery Yarhouse from Altamont gets on there. Jordan Quinn from Tuscola on there as well. And looks like maybe Quinn. They've got Quinn listed as a junior on the IBCA list. I thought he was only a sophomore, but maybe he's a sophomore.
I thought he was a sophomore also.
Maybe he was a sophomore last year when his brother was a senior, and he's a junior this year. At any rate, he's not a senior. We will see him again. Going down to the third team, you got Austin Wittenberg from Windsor Stew Straws, third team on the IBCA team. And then special mention, I'm just looking. There was somebody. Oh, yeah, Brock Fearday from St. Anthony is on the special mention list for the IBCA there. So lots of local names between those two. Had some Christ-Our Rock kids just to, as far as that's Team St. Anthony beating this regional final. Christ-Our Rock had a kid on the third team, had a kid on the special mention as well. So looking to see if there's anything I missed here. I think Brendan
Nieberge was what, third team IBCA?
Yeah, that's right. On the IBCA, we mentioned Caleb Seamer being second team. Brendan Nieberge, special mention.
Oh, special mention. Okay.
Let me make sure I got that right. Yeah, Brendan Nieberge, special mention on the IBCA team.
And then from the Christmas Classic, we had Zach Powell of Pleasant Plains, I think, made third team.
Yes.
Xavier Suleiman from Oak Lawn, who was hurt and missed most of the from Christmas on, didn't play. Still made, I believe, honorable mention 4A. And Bellevue from Lincoln Way, I think George made third team 4A. So kind of touching there with some of the Christmas folks we saw.
And Brendan Nieberge, of course, no relation to Braden Nieberge, who was on the scoreboard at the Assembly Hall yesterday for the entirety of the semifinal game. I think they got that one fixed for the third place game. But you know,
and again, Christmas tournament. Shout out to Lutheran North, who's playing for a 3A state championship tonight. I texted Coach Spiller this morning, wished him luck. So that's awesome.
Now you said you had you know what?
I got two things for you.
Okay.
College basketball. I haven't decided yet if I want to see the Hoosiers win today.
And why is that?
Then you got to turn around and have a slobber knocker with Purdue again. And then you got
You're just assuming that Purdue is going to get through the
they're going to beat Ohio State. Ohio State,
Cinderella, Ohio State.
Midnight. And I think Ohio State's in now, aren't they?
What,
their 3 wins?
Probably.
I thought they were. So I don't know. Indiana played really, really impressive defense last night, second half. Just very good defense, second half. So, Iowa ran the table, won the tournament last year, then got beat first game. So I don't know. That's a tough tournament to go through and win.
I'll let my dogs out of this room real quick. They're losing their minds.
All right. As one of our new adopted cats walks back and forth behind me, these are our spring break cats. We have them until Easter. We got 2 of them, so they just make themselves at home.
I failed to mention last week. I mentioned it, and then I didn't actually list them. The all NTC girls team, but the boys team, I don't know that if it's come out. I haven't seen it. I might just wait to touch on both of those at the same time.
Logan Fleener was MVP. I saw that.
Well, then it must have come out.
See, I missed it.
We do all that prep.
I know. I found I found this tweet I wanted to share with you, Whitey, about baseball.
Okay.
And here is the rankings among all players in spring training. Okay. Grapefruit and cactus
This is going to
as
be about
of
this Walker kid for St.
as
Louis.
of last night. Average number 1, Jordan Walker. Slugging number 1, Jordan Walker. OPS number 1, Jordan Walker.
Mm-hmm.
Total bases number 1, Jordan Walker. Hits number 1, Jordan Walker. Extra base hits tied for number 1, Jordan Walker.
Well, at a certain point, they'll start playing games that count for anything against players that are in active major leaguers, and we'll see.
And he grew an inch. He's now 6'6".
I mean, listen, he might be awesome. All I'm saying is,
I like the fact that you
11.
have so many players gone at the WBC, so these guys get as many.
That's a legitimate point.
That's awesome because it's giving young guys opportunity. Mason Wynn, their shortstop of the future, is playing pretty freaking well. And Brandon Donovan is not the utility guy. He plays every day. Oh, who's leading Japan in hitting?
Lars
Nootbaar. 455, baby.
Yeah, if you're curious about how that works, by the way, his mother is
his mother's Japanese.
Yeah, with a name like Nootbaar,
I always think of Japan. When I hear Nootbaar, Japan's the first thing that comes to mind. I thought it was Danish.
Yeah, I mean, and his dad does have some sort of European heritage, obviously, but he grew up in California, and like Freddie Freeman grew up in California.
For Canada.
His mother was Canadian, so you get that option. So there's some interesting things there, but listen, it makes for those rosters to be better, and I'm all for that. I've got both of those all conference teams for the NTC if we'd like to just go through them.
Run through them.
And that way we have put a bow on basketball for this year. I think we can kind of leave it there. I'll start with the girls, ladies first. Sydney Richards from Neoga was the most valuable player in the National Trail Conference. Obviously on the first team, along with Lucy Faraday from St. Anthony, Gracie Heckert from CHBC, Maya Ballard at North Clay, and Grace Nelson from Altamont, and then Lexi Seabaugh from Brownstown St. Elmo. So
6 first team?
Yeah, I have a feeling that there must have been a tie somewhere in there, and so they.
Hey, what are you doing?
Second team, Ella Kinkler from Windsor Stew Straws, so I could have made a pretty good argument for first team, I think. Nancy Ruhal from St. Anthony, Haley Campbell from Neoga, Brooklyn Garrett from South Central, Lainey Baldridge from BSE, and Tegan Webster from South Central.
That second team could beat a lot of first teams.
Yeah. And then honorable mention, you had Skylie Klein from Altamont, Madison Wojcik from CHBC, and Macy Rodman from CHBC, Courtney Brummer from Diedrich, Bryn Richards and Allison Sampson, both from Neoga, Allison Krzyzewski from North Clay, Stacy Vonderheide and Anna Faber from St. Anthony, and Samantha Hayes from Windsor Stew Straws. So those are your girls on the All-NTC. Logan Fleener, you mentioned him being the MVP of the boys conference. Other first teamers, you had Austin Wittenberg from Windsor Stew, Avery Yarhouse and Mason Robinson from Altamont, Aiden Dodson from South Central, and Brock Faraday from St. Anthony. Second team, Quentin Richards from Neoga, Adam Atwood from St. Elmo Brownstown, Caleb Gephardt from Diedrich, Alex Boos from North Clay, Eric Coleman from Altamont, and Ryan Schmidt from St. Anthony. And honorable mention, just two kids on honorable mention, Lucas Westendorf from Diedrich and Jarrett Paisley from St. Elmo Brownstown.
So did I miss Colin Westendorf not make first or anything?
Colin Westendorf did not, no.
Really?
No, that's a little surprising to me.
Well, and again, it's how you perform in conference games. So I don't know.
then of course you had a few other seniors that are going to play in that NTC. It used to be the NTC LIC All-Star game. Now they play against Lincoln Prairie Conference. They call it the Central Illinois All-Star game. Kids I didn't already mention that are playing on that, and this is all seniors, but all the kids, any seniors that I'll just go through it. Logan Fleener, Mason Robinson, Avery Yarhouse, Eric Coleman, Quentin Richards, Austin Wittenberg, Alex Boost, Jarrett Paisley, Caleb Campbell from Stanwell Brownstown. There's a new name there. Ethan Watwood from South Central, Griffin Sahe from St. Anthony, Jordan Wittenberg, Brady Reynolds from Neoga, Jordan Wittenberg from Windsor Stew Straws, if you didn't already know that, Logan Cornett from Altamont, and Carter Cheney from Windsor Stew. So that's a fun one. They played at Cumberland. It's the 30th year they've done this, and I've been over there a few times. They have a good time with it. They score lots of points.
There'll be a lot of threes shot at this one.
Yeah, and if anybody is capable of getting a dunk down, they'll get their chances to do that also. So
supposedly they used to crack the rim down about an inch and a half. That's the rumor.
It seems to me like that might facilitate the dunking, but it might hurt the
because I was told that's the only time Matt Shoemaker dunked in his life was in the warm-up of that All-Star game. So just a rumor.
All right. So yeah, that
couple
was
things. Bracket. You already owe me lunch. We gonna go double or nothing on our brackets?
I mean, we can do that. I don't care. Yeah.
I guess I'm playing with house money.
Yeah, it just didn't work out to meet up in Champaign. My dad, my daughter.
One of us was crying, the other was.
Something like that. We had a nice lunch at we had a nice Red Robin lunch. That was my daughter's pick. That's always her pick.
I went to Applebee's in Savoy, and Seneca was there, so I talked with Mark Gertz and met their coach and welcomed them to the Christmas Classic.
If I had my pick, in Champaign, if I'm getting a burger in Champaign, first of all, there's probably some bar somewhere there that I've never been to that has a better burger than any place. But it's always Five Guys for me. But then again,
Five Guys is good.
Three people eating a
pickle relish on there, but Five Guys hamburgers like $25 now.
Yeah, I was going to say it would have cost the three of us about $100 to eat there. So.
I had one in Michigan, and they're proud of them in Michigan.
Yeah, for me, it's more about the fries. Honestly, I like those. We could have a long conversation about this, but we need to wrap it up. We'll do brackets, and if we don't have much of anything else to talk about, maybe we just have a bracket talk. And
we may get we're efforting with the captains, Teton captains. That'd be Brendan or Braden, Jimmer, and Caleb. We'll see.
Yeah, that'd be cool if we can make it work. But
we talked about Tuesday night. Well, Caleb's got a baseball game. So Seymour may be playing shortstop Tuesday night already.
No rest for the weary, right?
I know. I was going to look at the weather. I don't think I'd want to play yet.
Those first few baseball games are always. I mean, I remember as my senior year, we always played Charleston the first game of the spring. And I remember going to a game in Charleston, and it was spit and snow. They had one of those Murphy kids pitching. I remember I got jammed, and I just wished I'd struck out by the time they had bat.
Bees in your bat?
Yeah, it didn't feel too good. But
high of 42 on high of 42.
Listen, it's been worse. I could tell you. I remember covering Effingham's Apollo when Newton was still in the Apollo and I was still at the newspaper. They'd have those weekend doubleheaders in the Apollo. And there was one over at Paul Smith Field back before they got their nice press box they have now. They had draped a tarp over the top of it and maybe around the front too, and put like a kerosene space heater in there for me and Prum, who was running the
fire hazard.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't have happened, but I was thankful for it, and I still couldn't feel my feet by the time the day was over with. But
that's almost like Greg Sapp being on top of the bleachers in stats.
Yeah, that's spring baseball for you in Illinois. By the time the season's over, it could be pretty darn hot. But you take what you get. So
we'll see. But yeah, if we can get those guys on, we'll do that. If not, we'll maybe just do a little bracket thing and show where we're at. And
Yeah, and we could always before games really get going in earnest, we could always take a week off too. But we'll see. We'll see. You know, I will say
they
this.
change your brackets if that happens.
I will say this. This basketball season, I feel like, and I've mentioned this before, our viewership is still pretty modest, but it's taken a nice jump during this basketball season, and we really do appreciate
it's our bread and butter.
We appreciate the people who watch and then get a hold of us and say, hey, I enjoyed your conversation with so-and-so. I enjoyed what you had to say about this. Hey, you got this one a little wrong.
Yeah, it's when they start those comments with, hey, dumbass, that gets me a little nervous.
I haven't gotten that one yet, but your mileage may vary a little bit. But yeah, we do. It's just nice to know that we're not just doing this for to hear our own voices, but that some other people get something out of it, and so we appreciate that. And yeah, basketball.
And Dad's book, we're talking 8 to 10 weeks of printing now, so we're going to be like probably into May before it comes out.
You'd be getting close to episode 100 by the time that.
We'll have to do something special, like the 100th day of school. Well, snacks.
Still a little ways to go, but yeah, I think we'll call that a wrap for this week. Again, thanks to Chet Reeder for taking the time. Busy
Yes, sir.
for him. So much going on behind the scenes that people don't even understand, that coaches have to deal with when their teams make it to state. And he certainly could have said, I just don't have time for this crap. And he did not do that. So we thank him.
Now, if he decides to go to a Walmart right now with his wife and gets groceries, it's a 2-hour trip. He'll never get out of the store. Everybody be going, coach.
Yep. But I really am happy for him. It's a long time coming for that program, and I know it. I know a lot of programs wait their entire lives to see some teams make it, and it never happens. But T-Town's been so close so many times. Still very happy for them to make it, and so.
Well, they have what, 8 supers in 12 years?
I think this was the 7th. So,
Well, no, 4, 5, 6, 7. This was 8.
Either way,
Andy had 4. Jason had 1. This is Chet's 3rd.
To get there and get over the hump, it's still T-Town or not, no matter how much success they have, you're still happy for the coaches and the kids, because for especially for the kids, it's always new to them. And that's the thing people have to keep in mind, right? Like it's always new to those kids. It's always a fresh experience to them, and it means the world to them no matter what their predecessors did. So great job. And I think we'll leave it there. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. Take care of yourself. Get rid of that cough, and we'll talk next week.
Need to. See ya.
All right. Later.